Joining me now is Congresswoman Victoria Spartz. She's a Republican from Indiana, sits on the Judiciary Committee. She is the first Ukrainian-born member of the U.S. Congress. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You recently visited Ukraine, including one of the hallmark places of this war, and that is the devastated town of Bucha. Visiting what is your home country, original home country, seeing that devastation. Tell us what you saw and how you react to it.
Well, thank you for having me and covering this. Seeing it with your own eyes, you see pictures and you see videos, but seeing, with your own eyes, it makes it real, and it's really, you understand that these people are going through hell, living through hell. It's a very, very brutal, barbaric war, a lot of suffering. You see, pictures of people, but then you see dead bodies. You see people killed, women, children killed, tortured. I think, it's very emotional and almost like I cannot believe that we're living through this in the 21st century.
Yeah. The U.S., its allies, are sending more weapons. They're sending more humanitarian aid. But as I've been here for weeks covering this war, it struck me that as a country, we're still congratulating ourselves for having defeated Nazi Germany. But of course, there was more than weapon shipments and sanctions then. Do you believe, as a member of Congress, but also someone born in this country, that the U.S. and its allies are doing enough to stop what you saw here?
Well, I think, I'll be honest with you, has been dragging their feet. We're getting a little bit better because we start understanding more that, we need to help them to hold the ground. If Ukraine doesn't hold the ground, this crisis is going to escalate, not just to Europe, but worldwide. And also what's happening, I just went to Odessa too on my second trip to Ukraine, and Russians blocking the ports of Odessa. It will create a lot of problems and famine and collapse government around the world. And I think it's a very dangerous situation, and UN has a responsibility to start putting pressure on them. And I actually, I know Secretary General just visited Kyiv, and he's, said that they failed. But you know what? We need to have that attitude like at Apollo 13 stuff. Failure is not an option. We just need to figure out how we can stop this insanity. And international community need to put pressure. If Russia wants to ever exist as a country, they need to get to the table.
Is there a point at which, and I understand the arguments, the rationale for not risking a direct military conflict with Russia, but is there a point, in your view, where direct military involvement might be necessary? Russia's making some advances in the east, if they're able to, say, surround Ukrainian forces there. Is there a point where your mind changes and says, no, we have to get involved?
Well, I think, there are different ways how we can get involved now, and I think there is providing proper security assistance for Ukrainians to fight this battle. It's very important. But we also need to draw some red lines and also be proactive in that and say what is not acceptable. And if Ukraine, if Russia is deciding to go and escalate it to further with type of weapons that really can, cause a lot of problems to all of us, to the whole world, it needs to be kind of mentioned and talk to them very, very clearly that, international community, not just us, we need to have countries countries like China and other ones with us and say, you know what, you can do a lot of these things, but you are not going to be waving your flag with nuclear buttons and all of these different, chemical things, because this is a dangerous conversation to have. So I think we need to be proactive in things like that and say the response is going to be very different, and Russia needs to get to the table and stop doing these things. I think some things need to be talked beforehand, and I hope that, we'll have more leadership on this issue.
It's remarkable, really, that Europe, the world is still doing business with Russia through this, still buying its oil and its gas. There are discussions of complete embargoes and weaning off dependence on gas, and those are big steps. But Russia's still making money, even more money than it was making per month before the war. Do you believe the U.S. needs to step in here and say, this stops today, not in several weeks or several months, it stops today?
I think we can take more leadership and help Germany and push on Germany particularly, and not single them out, but Germany is really the biggest problem in Europe, and the biggest economy in Europe. To really to tell them, what, we have some policies we can help you in a long term, and to be able not to be dependent on Russia, but there are some things they can do in short term, and we can help them to address some of the things. And I understand it will impact the industries, but to tell you the truth, the war is going to impact all of us in all of the industries. So the decision we have to make, do we want to have maybe stronger pain for shorter period of time, or we will have a very long pain for longer period of time? And I believe that it's better to take the pain for shorter period of time and then recover the economy and move forward, because if it's going to be a long-term war, the implications are going to be significant.
Remarkably, G20 host Indonesia has now invited the Russian President Vladimir Putin to participate later this year in November at the summit in Bali. The U.S. opposes that. How do you think the U.S. should respond? Should the U.S. refuse to attend? Should President Biden refuse to attend if Putin attends as well?
Well, I think we need to have a discussion with the international community too, and have better really foreign policy, because there are a lot of different reasons what other countries are doing and their dependency on Russia and China. And I'll be honest with you, China was eating our lunch at foreign policies. We're spending a lot of money, and a lot of times to countries that do not support us and then don't support our allies. So I think we need to have peace from strengths and have smarter foreign policy to work with international community to make sure that they know where we stand, and they know what it means to be our friend and what not to be our friend, and the implications of that. So I think we haven't been doing a good job with that, and we have to strengthen that, so then we have a better collaboration, because ultimately the whole world will benefit if this crisis and this war stops. And I think a lot of countries just really have some dependency and problems with countries like Russia and China for different reasons. So we need to have more leadership, and they all try to, if you can see that Russia tried to embarrass us and they try to do all these things, and I think we can be smarter, because we're a strong, powerful country, and I'll be honest with you, people want to be friends with us.
Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, American, but also Ukrainian at heart. This is your home. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.